It's a wild nut grabber. He let me grab his nuts too.
Honey, don't call it that. It's a squirrel.
But haven't they been stealing our peanuts?
Maybe, but still, just call it a squirrel, okay?
No.
Set me an alarm for 5 o'clock, 'cause I gotta go to bingo tonight.
The giant horse conch weighs over 11 pounds.
All right, so I just had a great conversation. I don't know how long it was, a couple hours, hour and a half or something, with a couple of solid dudes, father-son team, Jim and Matt from Tennessee. And I think the dad's, Jim's is a forces veteran, and they've lived quite the adventurous life. Been caving, exploring unknown zones, gold panning, all sorts of goofy stuff, fun stuff. And they became aware of what's going on in the woods innocently. And then they went at it and tried to figure out what was going on. And they shared a lot here with all of you through me today. And also, special note, they are not too far away from that, was it 50 or 52 years of Bigfoot? Janice Carter story, Mary Green. And they met her, and she was out on their property where they also had a crazy-ass sighting, which is shared today in this conversation. Very interesting. Very good guys. Very solid. And it's, I never thought about it before, but when you have two people on at once collaborating the same stories, it sure lets you know it really happened. Right? It sure lets you know it really happened. How do you practice up that one? If you weren't telling the truth, how would you even rehearse a couple-hour conversation with two people holding the same BS? I believe these guys to be awesome dudes, sincere, real great people. I'm glad I had a conversation with them. So here you go. Here it is. It's recording. There we go. We're live. Well, not live. We're not live, all right? So it'll be edited. I gotta post this on YouTube afterwards. But anyway, tell me your names and where are you guys right now?
Okay, I'm Jim, and this is my son Matt. We're out of Knoxville, Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. All right. And you guys live rural, or where do you live? I don't want to know where you live, but you're rural,
we're kind
right?
of out in the woods. We've been out in the woods. Yeah, we've been out in the boonies about 30 years. We're surrounded by the mountains and cattle farms, and so we're out in the boonies.
Yeah, just right East Tennessee. As boonies,
East Tennessee.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've been to Memphis, but I don't remember seeing any mountains from there. I was there a long, that was like, I don't know, 20 years ago. Anyway, that's about it for me in Tennessee. So what's been happening? What's going on?
Okay, well, I think I wrote into you like, geez, it's been 10 years ago probably. You read her story a long, long time ago. So I was real surprised that Sarah wrote and said, hey, we're interviewing people. And I was like, really? Wow. And, so I wasn't sure what you knew, what you didn't know. So we'll just start from what happened to us. Was our, like I said, we've been out here about 30 years, and, we're explorers. I used to run East Tennessee caves. I was into caving for years, and we were into all kinds of, and then panning for gold. We do a lot down in Coker Creek, and, been years and years out in the forest, and, never had nothing come upon us and scare the holy cow out of us. And that's where we got our PTSD, and that's when we hooked up your channel about 10 years ago. So that's where we kind of, got resolved after hearing so many more people talk about it. But so my first experience, I was backwoods camping up in Big South Fork, and I was by myself, and went to bed. Well, actually that night I was out by the fire, and I had this oogie boogie stuff, and I don't usually get that, and I got that stuff on my shoulder back like there was something watching me. And I smoked tobacco, homegrown tobacco with sage in it. So I was blowing it over the fire, and it would calm that oogie boogie for a little while, but it would come back, and I turned around. I remember I turned around, faced my back to the water, faced the woods, because I just felt like something was there. And anyway, went to bed that night, and I don't have no idea what time it was, but something in the middle of the night, I was in a one-man tent. And like I said, I was about 4 miles out by myself, and it shook the holy hell out of my tent. I come to, and something was just, and I'm laying there on my back going, and I'm trying to control my breathing. I remember my heart was coming up into my throat. And so I was like, breathe, breathe, breathe. Because I've had anxiety attacks before in my life. And so I was breathe, calm down. It's got to be explanation of this. And of course, I had no explanation. Let me turn the light back on here. And so I just, and it went, nothing walked away. It was just pitch quiet. And I'm like, what? Well, so I'm thinking raccoon? No, I can't think of raccoon shake my tent. Anyway, I prayed. I said, Lord, whatever it is, if it's going to kill me, break my neck. I don't want to be dragged off into the woods. That's what I prayed. And I went back to sleep. And we never considered, at that time in Tennessee, I never considered Bigfoot. It was about 10 years ago, probably. I didn't think there was I didn't think that stuff was down here. That was in Washington. Yeah. My watch just said packing? 15.
Did you have a gun?
No, I didn't have anything. No, I didn't even have a pea shooter, man. All I had was a machete. The machete was outside my tent, and so there's nothing I could do.
So was the ground shaking the tent, or something had a hold of the tent, shaking the tent?
Yeah, it grabbed a hold of the tent and shook it like a Walmart bag. It was one of those one-man tents, because it was about a 4 mile hike. And if you ever do any backwoods camping, you know how it is. You got to pack right because and it's a lot of big boulders getting in there. So you can't get out at night. You could barely get in during the day. So I knew there's no way I'm going to leave this place tonight. And so I had no choice. I had to just, make it through the night. And so I did. I just, like I said, I went back to sleep. The next weekend, I took my wife out there. I know that's crazy. Why would you do that? Well, because I'm an explorer. And I just thought that was strange.
Because I wanted to be single.
Right?
No kidding.
Yeah, right. I did. I know. I think about it. I think about shit like that now. I'm an explorer. I've had her all over the world and had her in all kinds of trouble. But anyway, so what I did was I took her the following weekend, and it'd been raining, and she was a little pouty, because I took her way back in the backwoods, and she wasn't really up to that stuff. She was she was a little pouty, and I was walking back with some sticks in my hands coming towards her, and we heard knock, knock, coming from this direction right up there where it's physically not a man could walk through that area. And that was kind of the first time. Still, we was not thinking Bigfoot. I don't know why, because 15 years ago, there was no Bigfoots in Tennessee. They were in Washington. That's just the way it was. I don't know. There was no such thing as Bigfoot in Tennessee. People would call me crazy as hell for saying that now. I mean, then. And so that was kind of that. And then we probably fast forwarded 4 or 5 years, and we were down in Coker Creek, Tennessee, and we were panning for gold. We were on this campground called Hammer's Campground, and we'd been there 7 nights, I think it was. And about the 6th night, there was this sound that came. It was like,
I called it a herd of buffalo, but just hoofs. Heavy sound
hooves.
beats.
Yeah, it was hooves, but there was no snorkeling. There was no tree brushing. And so a herd was coming at us, and I was laying there. I was sitting there on my little cot, and he was in beside me, and it came in, and I'm like, I'm in the military, and I boar hunted in Turkey, and and I've had boars chased after me, and so I know how it is. I was looking at the front of my tent. I'm thinking I'm getting ready to die because there's a herd of hoofs just boom, 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 boom coming at us. And I'm like, what in the world? And your mind is going 1,000 miles an hour. What is going on? How can that be? How can they here in Tennessee, they be buffalo or whatever? What is this? And it came, and it basically came, and it felt like it was over our heads, and it went past us. And so we were like, okay, so that was another time where I tried to control my breathing. So I thought I'm getting ready. I was watching in front of my tent thinking there's a herd of buffalo that's got loose out here, cow. I don't know. I don't understand, but they're going to run over us. And at that time, right after it went over, I had, this is the part that really changed everything for us. Coming up the creek, I heard toosh, 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 toosh.
Yeah.
And I realized that's 2 legs. And we were 10 feet away from the creek that we'd been panning all day, all week long. This was the 6th night of the 7 nights we were there. And so it goes running by us. Poof, 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 poof. Nice, smooth coming up through. And it was probably up to my knee or higher in water. And anyway, it come running by. And that's when I spoke out the tent to him. And I said, did you hear that? 2 foot, right? And Matt said, did you hear the herd? Did you hear the herd? You know, he went back to the herd. I go, yeah, I heard the herd, but that was 2 foot. So that's when I realized there's something that is capable of running through this creek with a stride, and it didn't slosh. It wasn't a deer. It was doosh, doosh, just as smooth as it could be coming up the creek. And they had been running that week. No breathing.
No breathing. That's why I call it a buffalo type of deal, because all the sounds that we heard that it passed us and such, and the herd, it just no snorting, no growling, no huffing, no puffing, no nothing.
Breaking.
All it is just thuds of
no feet
the herd
next day.
Running. It was about like 12 big buffaloes, I guess you could say. You know, give you an idea, or maybe 10 or something like that. That was what I could come up into my head. It was about like 10 buffaloes that ran past us, and the weight of it. That's all you heard was the weight and the sound. And it took about a minute for it to come up to us, because I counted the seconds of it leaving after it like sounded like it hovered above us or something like that. I was looking out the window of the camper shell that I was in that we built, and he was in the tent, and I was looking out both windows, looking very enticingly like it's on us right now. I look across the field over to the right side. There's enough moonlight to see across 2 fields. So I'm looking both sides, and on my left side is the creek, and there's nothing, absolutely nothing.
They had been that week. They'd been chasing something. There was hound dogs, and there was one that we named Earl, because it was Earl. And he was the loudest one. You know, you know, you've been out in the woods long enough to know there's always like one dog that you can recognize, because that was Earl. We called him Earl because he was the loudest. And so that week we heard them running the ridges, but they never come through where we were at.
And it definitely was deer that they were running earlier. I do remember hearing deer, and the dogs were following it, you know, and the past other nights. But that night was the thing ran up the creek, went, and I remember how many times it passed us 7 times.
Right. So that one in the creek, was that different than whatever came up to the tent?
Yeah.
The
herd.
Yeah, that was totally different. See, that's like 2 stories in the same time, and we don't even know. We couldn't tell you what the herd was. That one is still like a mystery. What in the world? We call it a ghost herd. I've called it a ghost herd for years, because I don't know what else to call it. It was a herd of hoofs that came and came over us. I thought I watched the front of my tent, and I waited for it to come in on me. And that's when I said, breathe, control your breathing. You're getting ready to die. Might as well do this orderly. What do you do?
Shit.
And as I watched my tent. So but the thing is, they'd been running up, and no, they didn't. That was, that one came running up, but here comes the dogs. You can hear the dogs going, twoosh, 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 slosh, slosh, slosh. And so they had gone back and forth.
There was a little Airbnb after that?
Yeah. They were running up and down with the dogs.
Yeah.
The Bigfoots were running up and down with the dogs. And one thing we've noticed was that there were a few things that there was a few things that we noticed that we didn't understand. Was like, there's a little Airbnb just, I don't know, 100 feet down. And they came out 3 o'clock in the morning, because I went and talked to them the next morning. And they were like, what the hell was that last night running up down the creek? I was like, we have no idea. And they were like, we came out with our guns. I said, yes. Well, he's got a little 22, so that we didn't really have any guns prepared.
At that time, I didn't have a gun at the time.
But what I thought was interesting, I think they were playing with the dog. So one thing we noticed was I heard Earl. Earl was the loudest, and he went up the creek, and some of the Bigfoots went up, or 1 or 2, I don't even know. I could not keep up with all the traffic. It was busy for quite. Like I say, he had 7. He heard seven times. But it
up and down.
But I heard the herd go. I heard the dog go, "Ooh," and go quiet. And I thought, ooh, he just got kicked or punched, right? And then a few minutes later, he was at the other side. So what we gather is it kicked it, knocked his breath out, grabbed it, covered his mouth, Earl, and then took him down to get the other dogs off the track. Mm-hmm. I don't, like, so we think they were playing with the dogs. We really don't have no idea, but that was the.
Mm-hmm. It was quite weird, because it was like, I remember how many I don't know how it went. It just the way but it's he went down, he passed us, he kicked the dog on the way back, and then it was running past us again. And while the other dogs were still down below, that's when we heard that's where we heard the main dog got quiet, and then he came running past us, and the other dogs were still down creek, and then the main dog finally started barking upstream past us. And then that's when the dogs came back to try and meet up with each other. And then they were chasing after the other thing that passed us. So, and that dog got kicked prior because he was like coming off the bank. It was a like the dog got kicked. And the thing was running off the bank and then jumped off the bank that was about like 6 foot tall, about 5 foot tall bank. And he went to the water and went, while the dog kind of crawled down, or like you can hear him rolling down the hill, the dog, and then he made it to the water and tried to keep up with that thing going downstream. But
And
give
the
you an
dog
idea
still.
what happened.
Oh, here's another shitty thing about this recording. So there's when you talk on the radio, sometimes there's a pause. That's what this thing does too. So it's a little awkward sometimes for me to inject and rifle in a question. So it's a little bit of a pause. So it might sound like I'm chopping you off, but I'm trying not to. But a quick question. So that dog, after you figured it got kicked, it still pursued this thing?
Yes, and it wasn't the main dog in my memory. The main dog was the one that got picked up and moved, but the other young middle dog or something like that, the female, I guess, got some more of a, I don't know, high pitched bark. She got kicked or something like that, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was like
pursued.
It was middle of June, July. The banks were just so filled in, you couldn't get in and out of the creek because of the brushes and the briars. So I went the next morning and investigated, and I did find a little ruffle where that something had gotten to a little scruffle right there on the bank. But that, like I said, but since it was so green, there was we didn't have any feet print or anything. And again, we still had not really accepted there was Bigfoots in Tennessee. I think we were still thinking that was the weirdest experience.
Well, I think, no, you said, was that 2 feet? So, yeah, at that time is when we figured out
that's there's something
more likely a Bigfoot in Tennessee.
Or there's a very tall
2 foot,
a very tall person that is able to run up the creek. That's, that's a fact. Now, whether there's a Bigfoot or not.
How long did all of that occur, like from the beginning to the end of that night? How was it hours? Was it minutes?
It might have lasted about a full hour for it to pass us and such. Well, then the herd, that was at least 2 minutes for it to drive, for it to go past us too. But besides that, it's like, I guess it'd be about an hour to 2 hours max. Then it was quiet the rest of the night.
Yeah, it was a nice long one. Of course, at that time we were panning for gold, man. We've been out there the whole week prospecting that. And we do a lot of prospecting for people down in that area. And that's just one of those side hobbies we do because people find out you're a prospector. Everybody wants you. And in Tennessee, we have a lot of people from Florida and Georgia moving up into that area. They're buying land. And they want people to prospect land. So that's all we do. We're not out there trying to find monsters. It's just they come on us.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Yeah. We get in those positions.
Keep talking.
I guess.
I gotta fix a curtain right here. The sun's glazing in my eyeball through the window. One sec. Keep talking.
Yeah. The past is about 7 times and such.
Yeah.
So
that was
the prospector thing, especially today. The price of gold today. You guys out there finding any?
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We, a lot of people don't think there's gold in Tennessee, and I just laugh at them because I'm like, dude, I've been prospecting for gold for 30 years in Coca Creek, Tennessee. We've even smelted some down, and we have some stored away. I don't even know what. I guess that's just the thing is, it's one of those things that if there was gold, there ain't no one going to tell you, and I wouldn't tell you where it's at because we don't share either.
I know. I wouldn't even have said that these days, right? Yeah, the price.
Well, we can laugh, but we know where this is. We know where it's at. And it's hard to get to.
It's hard. Yeah.
Yeah. So what else has happened?
Okay, so that was the part 2 of us starting to realize there's something big giant running around Tennessee, and then it was probably another 3 or 4 years later.
Yeah,
before we had our PTS time, we had. I'd started getting into this thing about Bigfoots, and I started using trail cams. And me and my wife was up in Kentucky, and then there's this place called Big South Fork, and you can't get into the middle of it. It's a national recreation park. You can't get in the middle, and I want to get in the middle. It's so big, but I knew that's where it was. I always said it was footy or it looked pretty
Squatchier.
So we had, so I said, okay, like I said, we went up to Kentucky to get down into Tennessee to find this place. And so I was like, man, I found this really cool place. So me and him went out one day. We went up there and we were walking down this trail. First to start off, we're going to go down this. I'm going to put a trail cam down here and you're going to put a trail cam up here. And so he went walking down that way. I went walking down that way and I got the oogie boogies on me, the oogie googies again. I was like, what in the world? I was about ready to run back. Something was watching me put that trail cam up and it was aggravated. And this is probably where we got the nightmare from. And then on the way back, I met up with him. We had separated a little creek crossing. And you said you had the same thing.
I had the same thing. I went up to this, I followed this creek up this valley and then it split off to two other creeks. And both those two valleys where the creeks went to was where I was feeling the oogie boogie, something looking back at me on both spots. And then I set up the trail cam right there because I ain't going to go further is what I felt. Like, I ain't going to go further than this if I'm going to have the oogie boogies. So I set the trail cam up facing up one valley and got out of there. I kind of like ran, jogged, kind of like hoppy.
You felt
I'm
that,
like,
didn't you?
I'm going to go against my fear. So I'm not going to be afraid. I'm just going to bounce around and like goof off and get on back, but it's like, I got the oogie boogie. I'm like, I don't like this. Shake it off.
And that's just stuff we've never got over the years. I've been,
never.
like I said, I do like backwoods camping by myself or with my wife. And so I've never got that oogie boogie stuff. So I don't even know where that started coming about. But, so we had come back and we set up a little camp and we'd had dinner and we'd gone backwoods. We'd gone backwoods up on a mountain. And we were up seen some big old boulders and all that. We had dinner and we cooked a couple steaks or something, didn't we?
Yeah, steaks and potatoes.
Steaks and potatoes. So anyway, we went to bed and I woke up in the middle of the night and I had to go pee. So I went outside and I was standing there and I was standing there and I'm ex-military and I got this Turkish knife and I was holding the handle, I was admiring how it fit my hand. And I remember I was peeing and I was facing away from the camp and I felt like something was in the woods looking at me. And so I turned around and I had that knife and I was like, don't mess with us. I don't know if that was part of what's getting ready we're getting ready to get the shit,
Probably just got
we're getting ready to get the hell scared out of us. So I did that. And then, went on, I laid the knife down and I was going to go in to the tent and I've got a red LED light and there was these red eyes and I was looking like this and this and this and this. And I could see it was behind bushes because they weren't glowing, like Bigfoot eyes are supposedly some of them glow. These were my light, my eyes, I guess my light was lighting them up because I could see behind the leaves and I could see, well, it's looking at me. And I'm thinking possum, deer, something, because the eyes were close together. And so I was joking with him and I said, okay, I got in the tent. And I was like, yeah, something out there with red eyes watching us. And it was joking around. And so we get in the tent and lay down. And I don't know if I even knocked off or not, but, that's when I come to, and there was this sound like the trees above us were just freaking.
They were shaking so hard they were knocking us. The way I remember it, they were shaking so hard above us, just like 2 trees that were shaking so hard that they were crashing and knock each other and then come apart.
So yeah, they were shaking, and so
How big were the trees?
Nudged him and said, "Hey, what's that?" Yeah, I nudged him. I said, "What's that?" And he was like, "I don't know. Take your earplugs." I had earplugs in my ear. Yeah. He said, "Take your earplugs out." I was like, "I don't want to. What the hell? I don't want to listen to this crap. This is another nightmare. I don't like going in the woods and getting nightmare. That's not what I do the woods for. That is not what we do the woods for.
We like to enjoy the woods."
So, so he was like, take out your earplugs, whatever. Anyway, this thing. We're sitting there listening to it right above our tent, like it was just shaking the holy hell. And we knew it was mad. Whatever was up there was pissed at us, and it was in the trees above us, and it was shaking. And we sat there and listened to it. And then the nightmare part came is when it cut off and it went silent. And it was so silent. And it was so silent. My ears were hurting from silence because I didn't hear nothing walking. You couldn't hear something coming. And I'm in my mind thinking, how are we going to get out of here? We'll go back to back. I ain't got to go. He's got to hit a 22 pistol.
That was the time I had the pistol. We got the pistol for the squirrels that we had around here. So that's why we had the squirrel.
Yeah, that was it. That's the only reason you had it was just for. And so I was thinking, how are we going to get out of here? And I'm going through my mind 1,000 miles an hour, and I'm adrenaline's pumping and I'm stressing out because I'm like, what is going on here? This is wrong. I want to get to the car. I'm thinking, how can we get out of here? And so I was going through all this in my mind, and it was complete silence. And I remember my ears were hurting, but I also remember realizing if you don't calm down, because I was wanting to fight and run at the same time. I was ready to do it all. But I realized you're wearing out your energy, and this thing's going to beat you. So I'm like, you got to calm down. You can't get out of here tonight. There's no way you can get out of here, because there's another one of those places that tell me in Boulders, there's no way you can get out of here. So I'm like, I'm going to calm. So I'm like, calm down. Yeah, there's no moon. Yeah. And so I calmed down, and
it was about like 5 minutes of silence, of nothing coming down the trees, nothing walking on the leaves, nothing disturbed. All you heard was little tic-tacs of like little small
they were throwing like
twigs on
like
top of the
pine needles at us.
Pine needles.
They were throwing like
on top of
pine
the
needles
tent.
at us, going.
That's all you heard.
And you're like, what?
So it was pine trees?
5 minutes, nothing.
Yeah, it was like pine trees. They were throwing little.
Well, there was a lot of hardwoods in that area. I don't know what it was, but size of a pine tree,
Of a pine
needles,
Just
or
something
like
to say
little
we
sticks, something.
just tick, tick, tick. It's kind of like torturing us because they had us pinned down. We couldn't get up. We couldn't get out of that place. We were in between. Luckily, our tent was in between some giant boulders, so that we kind of felt protected. And so I had eventually got my breathing under control and calmed down. And then this is the part two, was when I had I call it the second heart attack, because at this time there was this thing that comes floating by, and it's digital cricket. Beep, 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 beep. It's not like a modem cricket, and it floats by. So that we're doing with ETs or something.
We're like, that's the sound we were hearing. And with the cricket sound, with the beeps, it was like 4 beeps consecutive 4 times.
So it floats by, We're in the middle of the woods. We're backwoods. It floats by us.
It's not a Bigfoot now, it's an ET. So my heart dropped and I fell into the freaking, I went to sleep. I'm like, forget this. I'm putting my earplugs back in. I'm done with this night already. There's an ET now.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was like, dude. So then again, I had to get my breathing under control and had to calm down. And we had been joking around earlier that night at dinner. If anything happens, then make sure I lay down before you shoot over me. And it was, I don't even know.
Because it was the first night camping in the woods when we have a gun with us. Our whole lives, we never went camping with a single gun. It was always a machete or something that were cooking utensil. You know, we never brought a gun to campsite. So it's fun just to joke with about the gun.
Well, tell him a part about where you said it felt like it was trying to get you to vocalize your location. It was trying to pull from his vocal cords, right?
Yeah, it was once it did its little digital crickety big thing and it stopped. Oh no, it was during that time, and I went down because that was the time period I was trying to like keep myself quiet as possible, because the quieter it was getting, the quieter I felt like I had to get, because the more it can hear onto me. So far it knows there's only one of us because Dad was out there and he saw red lights. So that's what was in my head, was so far it only knows there's one person out here in comparison to 2 people. So trying to keep an upper advantage on this thing, I tried to keep quieter and quieter and quieter as it got quieter. And then the digital BB thing went off. And that's when I fell back, like, forget it. My heart like might have skipped a beat because it was beating so slow that I tried to stop my heart beating. And I possibly did stop it for 1 second, 1 beep. And then it's like, that's when the digital cricket thing was trying to vocalize me vibrating like the cord inside of me, and try to vibrate that to make a sound. And that's when I put my tongue to the top of my mouth, my teeth shut and my lips sealed, and just putting pressure on my back throat just to hold the vibration from coming out. So at least it knows there's only one so far. And that's what I did. And then it finally stopped. Well, and it was like 5 minutes after that again.
Yeah,
then
we finally calmed down. I'd lay down, and I had this LED light in my hand, right? And that was the only thing I had, dude. And all I was thinking was, if I'm going to see it, I'm going to see this thing. I mean, we're going to fight. If it comes, I'm ready. Because I figure, I mean, what else would you think? Something is in the woods, and it's going to jump on us. I'm just waiting. I don't understand why it didn't, because I'm like, it's whatever is pissed, and it's going to jump on us. So I will see it. That's all I had in my mind. I had a light, and I kept it in my hand. I was ready to push the light, turn it on. I'm going to see it. And that was my determination. And I thought I'd kind of laid there and kind of fell asleep. I wake up and I still got my light. And I fall back asleep. And I wake up and I still got my light because I'm like, dude, it jumps me. I'm going to see it before it kills me. I'm going to see whatever kills me. I'm going to. That was just my determination. And then eventually we calmed down. Thought it was over. And no, then we hear this. Then I wake up, this boom, big thump, boom, like something jumped off a cliff up on the mountain ridge. And then you hear it coming down. Boom, boom, boom. You can tell the spark.
Yeah, you feel it. Whenever it did its first jump, you felt it before you heard it. And with thump, we were on the ground, so we felt it from the top of the cliff to where we was at near the road. It did the thud. And then every step you heard it and you felt it. It was a okay, that's it.
And that was
the
walking.
last 4 more times it did its steps. That's when I tried to pull out my gun. My gun was out, and I was about to pull the hammer back. And that was the same time period I told Dad, I'm about to fire this gun. I said it very quietly.
He says, I'm about to fire. And of course, I'm thinking, fucking kill, shoot, I'm
Shoot,
done.
I don't care.
I'm already out of this whole world. I'm like, I'm done. You could just start. You
22.
can shoot me. You can shoot me. At this point, you could shoot me, and I'd be cool with that. And so that's when
you're hearing
realized,
that sound. So what you described, you figure you felt the ground before you heard the thump.
Yes, it was that big. It was that more of a thud. It landed on a boulder or something with moss.
It felt like someone took a boulder about the size of a feet stool or something. You know, it was about that big. I mean, it was a dice, and then went boom. But then it started coming down the mountain. So whatever it was had like jumped off a cliff and then came down to us. And so now it's come to us. Matt's got his gun up on, he's sitting there with his gun on his chest. I'm laid back thinking, okay, well, shoot away, buddy. At any time you feel like shooting, you just start shooting. I don't care. Because I was already, we were exhausted, dude. We were done. You know, three heart attacks one night and I'm done. And so he, and he said that wherever you told me, he says, I'm about to shoot. And that's when you started to pull the trigger.
I was just about to do the one click.
The one click.
You know, this is the sound that we was afraid to make. That was the sound.
That was a screaming noise in the woods.
That was a bell that said dinner.
Yeah.
I knew,
but you didn't have to pull it back.
Didn't have to, because he did the 4 steps and he stopped. And because he kept on doing 4 steps on the way down and he stopped on the 4th step, I knew he wasn't going to take another 4 more steps down, is what I was feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So I was holding that. If he took 1 more step, I knew he was going to do 4 steps. So that gave me advantage to pull, get a bell ring out there, and be ready to really click it real fast and get the safety off and start firing, because I assumed that he'll be chasing us right to the spot.
So we were stuck in that moment of time where he's sitting there waiting to pull his trigger back. Nothing's happening. And then time goes by and we both kind of lean back. Finally, we're napping in and out. I'm still holding my light like it's the last thing I'm ever going to have. And that's when we heard a damn woodpecker going freaking nuts. And I woke up, this woodpecker would, and we're like, what the hell? And then I realized it was dust. And I realized we lived and we're here and we're alive and we made it. And this woodpecker was going through the woods.
He followed the trail that it came down at. That's what it exactly sounded like. It landed exactly where it stopped. And then it flew up to the next spot to where it last 4 steps was. And then it kept on going up each tree, up around the valley. All the way it came is the way it went. The way the woodpecker went, it followed its tracks back.
But it screamed and made and left, and we knew then that we had survived whatever that whole night was about. We knew we survived. And just recently we went up there a few weeks ago, and there was a woodpecker came from that direction that one had left, came to us, did a couple things or whatever, I can't remember. And
it landed too, looked right at us.
And then went back the exact same way. And I'm like, dude, I think that woodpecker was coming back by to say, hey, guys, you guys all right?
Right. Little spiritual things that happen, we don't know, but we're just like, we assume.
How
It sounds
close?
like
How
it.
close do you figure that thing got to your tent?
My opinion, it was about like, about 20 feet away, maybe 40 feet away. But in my vision of sight, even though it stopped, I had a vision that it like went behind us, behind our tent,
Yeah, we
and
did.
sniffed at us.
We
And
did
I
find.
felt like his presence was right above our heads.
Yeah, we did
And then he
find.
left us.
Yeah, we
that
did.
was in my vision, but I don't have any. I never actually heard it.
Yeah, we did find a big footprint over by where I was standing out there with my knife, and also we did hear that knife. Something picked it up because we heard it set it back in the pan. We heard ting. So something had come over and picked up that knife and put it back down. We heard it go back, ting. We heard it set that knife back in the pan. And then also he found he took a picture of a 3-toe footprint. And of course, at that time, I'm very frustrated and mad at this whole, cause I mean, we won't go back in the woods for years just because now what's out in the woods? We came home, we were pale white. I couldn't even, for 2 days. My wife says, we couldn't, that ruined my life, right? Because you can't go back in the woods. That was it. That was it for us. We're done. I mean, we did eventually come across a lot of your conversations and realize, okay, this is manageable.
A lot of your people here helped us out a lot to go back.
Yeah,
in the
because I mean,
woods.
we had
Thank you.
PTSD for years. We can go now. We're a lot smarter
For years?
now.
You didn't go back in the woods for years. What'd you do? I would have went. If I couldn't go back in the woods, I think I'd jump.
Well, actually, I went back up the following freaking weekend.
We did.
I didn't. I mean, I'm saying I
It's
didn't want to
fulfilling.
go back, but I'm like you. I'm a fighter, so I was back the next weekend and the following weekend. And the
Next
following
new
weekend.
moon is what we
And
did.
then we started going up and we started putting out apples. And at that time, 10 years ago, probably during that time, there was no one really doing the stuff, the apples. And so we started drawing pictures and we were putting out. And so we got, after that, we got so many experiences, because we were putting out pictures and they were folding the pictures and they were doing stuff like that. And we were putting out apples and they were gifting us. And so we started basically self-teaching ourselves, start learning that there's something out there in the woods. And then, I've never seen one. He saw a Bigfoot. I've never seen one. So I can't even tell you if they're real or not because I've never seen one.
It was about a year after that experience of us gifting and such like that. That's what we were doing, and some other things, drawing, to try to figure out what's out there, researching. That's what we were trying to do, is research.
Mm-hmm.
And in that winter, that coming winter, I guess, or the next year, is whenever I was locking up the chickens like I do every night. And that night, I went to the cow field, and there was a light coming on and off. And I looked up, and it was the moon, a full moon. And there was a silhouette of a human in a tree on the very top of one of our huge trees we have out here. And it was swaying, like the moon's right here. It was swaying the tree. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure I get the mic on there. It was swaying the tree where it's on both sides of the moon. That far.
No way.
And he was right here in the silhouette, waving it. And you could see him actually swaying the tree, moving his body. And he did it about 7 times, and I stopped counting because I was like, I know it's beyond me now. It's definitely real. I smacked myself, pinched myself like this. This is in our backyard. And that's when I was like, okay, it's real.
And
I'm
you went
gonna-
inside.
This is at your house? At your home?
Yeah.
Yeah, right in our backyard right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How far away from you was the being in the tree? How far? How many yards?
How many yards do you
From
think?
here?
Yeah, I think it's
Oh,
about
geez.
football field, maybe.
Maybe a football
Half.
field. Yeah, it's not that far.
Really not that. It's just on the
Hey,
other
that must
side of the
have
cow
been
field.
frickin'
practically.
wild to see that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that was his.
Oh, I saw him coming down after the 7th time of him pushing the tree. I saw him start walking, or not walking, but climbing on down, and he put his arms out like that, where he can actually like show himself, and he had hair on the bottom side of his. trying to stay in screen. He had hair coming down like right here, about that long of hair, and he had like not much of a neck. It was like that. So that's the silhouette I saw whenever he brought his arms out. And he came.
Where were you? Were
crawling
you outside
down.
or inside?
I was outside, and while he was crawling down, I was like, well, if he's coming down, I ain't gonna be around. That's what was in my head. I did went
Yeah.
inside. I was like, well, by the time I get to the bottom, I'm like, maybe I'm having a good connection with him, and maybe I could have talked to him, but I'm at the
At that
house.
time, it was still
nighttime, tired.
trying to get the mind around stuff like this. You
And
know?
it's the first time
What
I
time
saw
of night?
him.
What
I'm
time
like,
of night was that?
about 9 to 11 o'clock. Usually the time period I usually lock
Yeah,
him up.
he goes up and counts chickens. You know, checks them, make sure everybody's happy.
Make sure all of them came home
Yeah.
at night. Such
It's a normal,
Man,
normal
that's
chicken,
early too, isn't
right?
it? For on average, what everybody seems to report. Usually it's like midnight, 3 a.m. That's kind of early. But I mean, obviously this shit goes on around the clock. Doesn't really matter, really.
Right, right.
But I
now,
get it about
after-
that. I get it about that part where you're not sticking around. Like I've had a few things happen to me, and I've been very aware of these people. I know they're there, and I know on average you're going to be fine, but I still like, nah, I'm out of here. Especially when I had 2 of them beating on trees above me and I was trapping wolves. Like that's a classic example. I just looked straight at the ground, snowshoed my way to my sled, hoped to God it didn't get it stuck because I had to turn my snowmobile around on top of fresh snow. And then I pinned it. I just pinned it, and I didn't look back, and I didn't look beside me because I didn't want to see a 10-foot tall hairy dude pacing me on my snowmobile. You think
Yeah.
you're into it until it goes down, and it's like, I'm not really into this.
Oh, when did you start realizing something was in the woods? Because I mean, like I said, it was about 15 years before we realized that we need to be paying attention.
I was 17 years old, so what's that? It's like 30 something years ago.
Okay.
30 something years ago, and
Okay.
by myself hunting. I didn't know any. I stayed in the woods when I was a kid. Okay, I started going in the woods by myself in the dark when I was 12 years old, by myself, learning how to hunt with a bow and arrow. And I didn't want to go back to the house, and I'd stay out until dark. It must have drove my mom nuts. So I didn't have a clue. I didn't have nothing. Just a carefree kid running around the woods in the dark who gives a shit. And then all of a sudden I started feeling the EBGBs going up and over top of that rock, the pass in the timber on the peak to drop down to this clearing. And I'm not kidding you. Like I dreaded going through that pass when I had to walk out in the pitch black. I dreaded it. I'm like, oh, here we go again. Which after 17, so it would have been at least 5 or 6 years of running around by myself, shooting deer with my bow and having a riot. And then all of a sudden there's that thing on that rock looking at me right in my face. And that was it. That's all she wrote there.
Wow. Yeah. That's like I said, we've been lucky. Most of my life, I have been, the woods have never been nothing. I've never had no bad experiences, so, and, but now it's getting better. We still go camping. We were just out hiking yesterday. We still love to get out in the woods and stuff. I'll tell you some more experiences that are pretty cool. We were panning for gold, I don't know, a year ago recently. And, we had been down by the creek and, panning, and we were coming up out of the mountain in my truck, and I had a cooler in the back and it was sloshing water. So I had to go back there and fix that cooler. And there was a pan that we had gold in that we had just set on top of the stuff in the back of the truck when it had a pop-up camper. Not pop up, but whatever, open the little window. Anyway, he set the pan down on the side of the road to get in and fix the cooler, and he forgot it. And so, anyway, we go about probably 4 or 5 miles over to another campsite, and we set up. And our buddies came out that night, and we were like, "Yeah, let's show you the gold." Then we're like, "Where the frick's the gold?" And it was in this little black gold pan. And so we're like, "Oh, dang it," And then they realized, oh man, I set it on the side of the road. And luckily it's at our first camp, which is way out in the woods. And then no one ever goes out there. It's one of those places that, we knew that no one would see it because there's no traffic out there. It's way out in the boonies. So the next morning I thought, well, let's go get that goat pan. So we drove down there, and, first I get down there and my trail cam is not on the tree no more. It's in the road. What the heck is my trail cam doing in the road? And, it had, I think it was 250 videos, and 249 were perfect. The one where it somehow left the tree and got into the road is all gray, not hairy, just like gray and white and gray and white. And it's not even, I couldn't even duplicate it. So, okay, whatever. So we get that and we realize, well, we lost the gold. So we get back to the campsite, like I said, almost 5 miles away on my buddy's property. And he's in the national parks too. Anyway, I walked over to get some coffee and it hit my head. I was like, I bet you they brought it back. I looked at Matt and Matt was 15 foot away. And sure enough, sitting over there on the ground on the other side of him was the pan on the ground. And of course, Matt's like, what? I said, I knew it. And he said, you're kidding me. And he looks over there and he goes and finds that we had 2 black gold pans. He goes, where's that other black gold pan?
Other one?
So he had to prove it to himself that this was real. And anyway, there's the other one right here. And sure enough, they had brought back that pan. And guess what? They didn't lose no gold. We didn't have no pickers in there. They were just fines, but they were still there. And the thing was on that road, it had dropped little pine nettles inside the pan. And our camp had no pine nettles, no pine tree. We were in a big open area.
The new camp that we're at.
So
no pine needles.
So we were pretty excited. I know you got I think they returned your knife. And we're like, that's so cool. So we know that worked. That worked. That happened.
Yeah, they brought it back
So
to us.
how far away was the pan moved from where you lost it to where you got it?
Probably 5 miles. 5 miles.
Right.
From we were down in Coca Creek Falls, way down with our first camp where we'd been panning for gold. Then I went up to our buddy's property and we were probably 5 miles, and it's country roads. And somehow or another, what amazed me was how they transported it from there all the way back to us. It didn't spill it. I mean, it was fines, but they didn't spill it. I'm like, that's amazing that they delivered a gold pan 5 miles by foot. I guess I'm sure they did it by foot.
Mm-hmm. So how far was the trail camera moved?
It was moved from the tree to the road, probably
10 feet.
Yeah, maybe 10 foot, and it was face down on the road, right? And it had it was kind of wet, and it was like, huh? It was some stuff I can't explain why that was. And like I said, that video, it had 250 videos, and the video, the last video it took was the trip it took from the tree to the road, and it's all just gray stuff. I'm looking for, I've slowed it down. I tried the contracts. I tried all that stuff. I was thinking I see some hair, right? Something moved it, but it you just see like gray, white weirdness, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. And so the camera did roll down the hill.
Do you think it was on night vision, or was that daytime? And also, do you think that was like electronics mess up on the screen, or was it recording it just recorded something weird?
Yeah, I think they did something electromagnetic or something that messed it up. And it was the timestamp on it was basically about 8 or 9 o'clock that evening. That evening that we had left out, 5, 6 o'clock that day, went to the new camp, and the timestamp on it was the last video it took, because it was facing face down when we found it. And that was about 8 or 9 o'clock that night. So the same time they had come down and picked up our gold pan, like our gold pan came back the next morning. After, it was back when we came back, and I just knew it. I was over there. I just walked there to get coffee. I said, I bet they brought it back. I just knew it. And I turned to look, and it's just unbelievable. There it sat. A place where our sniffer is and all of our equipment, there it's set. Clear as day. A place where we've been kicking stuff around all night long, and
And that morning, because I remember going around, waking up that day, like I lost a gold pan on the trail, so I'm like, dang gun it, put it in the dang box. Where's it at? So I had to look again enticingly, where is the gold pan? Because I didn't lose it. It's like in my head, it's not lost.
Yeah.
And I looked all over that morning again with light, cannot find it. Even around that sniffer, me and Dad was kicking stuff around the sniffer, throwing stuff around, like, where the heck is? Not really throwing, but we're really searching, and we're like, well, all right, it's not here. I left it on the road over there. So, okay, we went back.
So definitely convinced that they brought that back. And like I said, they did something with the trail cam, but that was pretty cool. Now we had been shooting some slugs. We were up in the woods shooting, and there was a slug he shot into his tree. And, I don't know, a few weeks later or whatever, one of you went walking by it, and something had installed a silver screw, like Phillips, into the hole. Right? Took the slug out and installed a Phillips screw. And so we're like, Okay, that's strange because first of all, there's no one up here in these woods, and who would come up here and put a Phillips screw in a hole where a slug was? So he took his knife out and it was real tight. And he unscrewed the screw, and we thought, okay, that's weird. So we thought, what was that about? But then it was a little while later, went back up there, and there was this little teeny nut that something had put in there. And the weird thing was about it is the same type of nut they'd put in his chair in the garage. So we're like, there's some kind of communication going on here.
Do you mean a nut? Is it an edible nut or like a nuts and bolts?
Yeah. Like a little, edible nut. Like a little, nut. And this weird nut, because I don't even know what kind it is. It's really small. I don't even know what it is. I really don't know. I don't even know what kind of nut that was. But we had found it near his seat in his garage and one in that hole. Yeah, it was some kind of, they were communicating something, and we're like, oh, I don't know. And then, of course, it wasn't too long after that, there was a rubber washer that was in the holes. But, these are experiences where you're like, I can't explain this stuff. I don't even know what it's about, but we'll just tell you, what we saw, and you tell us. So
how'd you know how'd you know the slug was missing? Because they bury right out of sight normally.
Right. Well, what I did, I was going to the tree to pull out the slug. I was like thinking, oh, this is a perfect little shot in a tree to get a slug out of the hole. I'm like, this would be cool to have just to look at, see what it looks like. And there was a screw. The slug was gone. There was like no slug. Looking around, looking on the ground, like something put a screw in it, then they'll take the slug out. Where's the slug?
Yeah, right. And it was in there tight, dude. It was in there tight.
It was in tight. I had to put my knife in there as tight as possible and then break it loose.
Yeah.
It was that tight. Yeah. I was like, wow.
And how did they get it in? You got Bigfoots have Phillips screwdrivers they walk around the woods with. We don't know, man.
Well, you know what?
See, like you said, that's the thing is, people go, you're crazy.
Yeah, the thing is about this kind of weird shit is who even knows if it is the classic tall, hairy being that's doing this weird shit. You know what I mean? Like there's some weird ass shit going on all around us all the time, I figure.
Right. Yep. Like, we had, I'm telling you, I'm just telling you my strange experiences because I think these are really cool. We were camping this winter, whenever it was, last fall, and there was a lightning bug. Now, we didn't videotape it because who's going to sit there and record a lightning bug? This lightning bug came on, and not off and on, but he was on, and he would fly, and you could see him fly down through. Me and him sitting by the campfire.
He's zooming
down through the woods, and I'm watching him, and that's the thing is, me and him ain't got our head on right, because we're like, where's the other lightning bugs? And there was no other ones. And this guy, he would fly way out in the woods, and then he'd come back. He might flip off every once in a while, but then he would come back, and he would zoom our campsite. And it's a lightning bug. I swear it's a lightning bug.
Yeah, it was a lightning bug, the light of a lightning bug.
But we weren't paying much attention to it, and he was coming and going and coming and going. I remember that night, middle of the night, we were sleeping inside of the camper top of my truck. It's got the two sides that open so you could put tools in both sides. He flew through. Me and him were sleeping in there. He flew through. I watched him that night. Opened my eyes. I just knew something was coming. And he flew right over us and right through the camper top.
Above us, both sleeping or laying down. We just got rested, and he went zoom. I'm like, what is he doing? He's just freaking happy.
But that's one of those things, you go, I couldn't explain that one ever. That's up in Kentucky. That was just like, what in the world was that about?
Mm-hmm.
So how many times have you guys found footprints?
We found that 3-toe, and we found that one by where it come down and where I'd handled that knife. But that's it. That 3-toe, when he found that 3-toe, he'll tell you, I was kind of mad at him because I was like, dude, there's no ostriches live in Kentucky. I don't even know why you're taking a picture of that. It makes no sense. What is a 3-toe thing doing in the woods? And but yeah, we've never really found any footprints, have we?
No, the areas that we've been searching, it's like the footprints, if he was to, it's on top of hard soil, I guess. I don't know. There's no muddy areas. It's very runoff areas, I guess. I don't know. We just never really saw a muddy spot where there's a footprint of them.
No, we're not.
They never really showed us.
We're not really Bigfoot researchers. We're just researching we're learning to research the unexplained now, I guess you can call it. Because that's what we're trying to figure out is what is all this stuff going on out in the woods, and
I know. I've never been any kind of. I don't know if it's a researcher label. No, I got nothing against researchers. I mean, it's funny. A lot of people thought that you hate researchers. No, I don't. I hate those assholes that attacked me first. That's who I hate, right? But anyway,
Yeah.
I just want to know the truth. I'm sick and tired of us being bullshitted, misled. Do you know what I mean? Like the amount of dog shit that's fed to us from the mainstream school system, as opposed to real world shit, and what we really should be we should all have fair crack at knowing the truth about everything. You only get one lifetime. That's it. Unfortunately, it's controlled, but it's very frustrating for me to not have fair crack at knowing what's going on. And it's a lot.
I got a cool story for you like this one. These were when the owls came in on us. We had been out, we gifted, and we put out all this stuff, man. It's a smorgasbord. We even had the stuffed animals and all kinds of cool stuff. And we come back to camp. Chocolate. We were like partying, man.
Give them a good gift.
Yeah, and we were sitting at the campsite. Me and him were sitting there. We wasn't recording again. We're really bad at trying to capture stuff. We're just enjoying life. That's most people that go out in the woods are not out there to try to record things. We just want to sit by the fire and enjoy life. And we were sitting there, and we heard this whoo from this direction. Then we heard a hoo hoo from that direction, and we're like, oh, they're excited because they were owls. They were coming in on us two different directions. Hoo hoo. And so we were excited. We're like, hey, they got our gifts. And they're like, cool. That's what we were thinking. And as they came in, they kept getting closer. Hoo, hoo, hoo. And then it started going
louder and louder. Orangutan.
And it was coming in. And I was like,
coyote.
I felt like I was going in like a trance. And I was like, I don't like trances. And so I got up because I thought, I'm going to go get my recording device out of the truck. And that's what I was thinking. And when I got to the pasture side of the door, that's when they were coyotes. They were originally owls. By the time they got to that, when I touched that door, they went quiet. We never heard another peep out of them.
Once he touched the door handle, touching it, that's when they went silent. And then I heard nothing from them again after that.
Nothing the rest of the night. But they had turned into like I said, by the time I touched the door, they were so crazy. It eventually was coyotes. They went from owls to gorillas to just screaming crazy stuff. My head couldn't figure out what was all these sounds were coming at me. And I was moving towards the truck. You were still sitting in your coma because I felt like
I was out. I was on the back side of the truck, but I was trying to get around to the driver's side door. By the time they were orangutaning out of control, they're like loud as ever. I recognize I ain't going to have enough time to get in the driver's seat of the truck. I'm going to just jump in the bed of the truck and shut it down, and so Dad could drive out of here because he'll be able to get inside and drive out of here, because if they keep on going, it's going to go that direction because it seems like they're that close.
Well, it's like a deer with a headlight. You get mesmerized and you're in a trance. I mean, that was a trance, because there are owls that are making coyote noise. Now they're making the gorilla sounds. And so it was a trance because we were excited and we're like, yeah, they got our gifts. But I felt like I was in a movie, and I thought that's wrong. You got to move. You can't stay. To me, that was like, you can't go into a trance. I felt like that's a bad thing. And that's when I got up and went towards the truck. He was behind me. He realized that he was going to have to jump in the back of the truck, and we were going to have to go real fast because he was a couple steps too slow to grab the front seat and go.
I didn't recognize I was going to be in that situation. It just sounded like regular owls in the beginning. What happened now?
What the hell? So do you guys still try to leave things or place cameras or do anything to invite them over?
No, we don't do I realize they don't like cameras. They don't like being captured. We don't even do, I got trail cams, but I put them on if I go out in the woods, I put them pointing at my vehicle. That trail cam that we had down there, GoPan, it was sitting there to monitor traffic in and out of that place. We don't try to catch them because, I mean, that's a good way just not to, you're not going to get nothing. If you're trying to catch them, they know it. I just think, no, if you don't have no cameras and you don't take anything, you might get all kinds of experiences. But if you're out there trying to catch it, you ain't going to catch nothing. That's just from our experience. I don't even try it. We're not into trying to catch it.
No.
Yeah. Do you guys know many other people that are aware of what's going on or have seen anything?
Yeah. Here in Tennessee, there's a lot of people that have come out. We know Janice Carter. And she's come to our property. Now, she's the one that was raised 50 years with them. She was raised with them. And she's told us stories, sitting up here on our property, and she's, about their Bigfoots, and they named them and running through the house. And the time she got knocked off a horse by a Bigfoot, but her grandfather, and this county down here, they're close to us. We have noticed, though, from our study, we have noticed, like, South Tennessee is more what we call boogers. They're fast, they're small, they do screw around with you. I enjoy the boogers. Now, if I go up north, more of Kentucky and stuff, it seems like we get more into what you call Bigfoots and Sasquatchers. They're total different.
Like big,
total different.
Big
Bigfoot
tree
type.
arch, big tree work,
Yeah.
big tree things that goes on more north we go.
Yeah.
And then down there in Coca
Alabama,
Creek and such
Georgia.
like that, they're just small twigs, small arches, and small breaks. There's no real extravagant big
Yeah,
trees
they're
that
definitely
does
smaller.
bust.
Just the more
Like
south you go.
we've seen trees about that big that the heads were just completely toppled over, just like a big old triangle. Not the head of the tree, but just about like 6 foot tall. And that's where it broke. Boom.
We had
Such.
we
In
had
Kentucky.
Yeah, this place in Kentucky one time, we were up on a big giant boulder, and there's this huge tree, and me and him had been hiking through the woods that day, and we'd come up and we'd walked up that big boulder, we'd walk across that boulder, come to that big tree, and Matt said, he goes, it'd be really cool if they would bend this tree. And he slid down that tree, and we went home. 2 weeks later, we went over there, and they arched that tree. Huge tree. They arched it. The park rangers already cut it down.
Yeah.
But they arched it. They arched that tree. We got the video of it. It's like really cool. They arched. So to us, that was a gift, because he said it'd be really cool if they could do this one or something other.
Yeah, because I'm noticing they're doing tree work and such like that. And every time I appreciate one of their arches, next time I come back, the next new moon or something like that, is when they start doing another tree arch somewhere else or a different angle or something. So that's what got me the idea of maybe that they'll do an arch on this big giant tree, because then I know for sure that they are this big in my mind. They're bigger than I can imagine. They're not like little creatures, and he arched it. And when he arched it to the road, and it was sturdy. The leaves touched the road perfectly, right on the side of the road, and it was strong. I shook the tree, and it was solid. It wouldn't move off the road.
And that place there, it's a 7-mile dirt road. And one time we went all the way down in there and come out, and they had on the left side of the road trees for 7 miles. I got video of it. Every, I don't know, 100, 200, 300, 400 feet. I forget how many trees there was, but they would be bent and they would touch the leaf. The road would be just like that. Just maybe touching it, but just perfect. Every tree for 7 miles on the left side of the road was arched. What was that about? It's like, I think they're sending messages, because the park rangers out here, they know that there's things out in the woods. Now, we've talked to the park rangers. We laugh and joke with the park rangers, because they can't, I tell them right up front, I know you can't talk about them because, they don't exist. You have to call them a bear. And I get that.
Yeah, they smile,
they smile and laugh because they know what we know, and then we know what they know. And,
but those guys won't talk to you openly, even though you're private.
Yeah. No, they've been really cool though. Cause they have told us, the one time there was this big bridge they put in, it was 3 telephone poles, and it was across this creek, 3 telephone poles, right, for the base of it. Anyway, it got moved to the left instead of where the creek runs. It got drug out of the way. Instead of where a creek water, they said it flooded. And of course I'm laughing at them. I go, dude, you guys know this did not get flooded. This was something drug this 3. It was a bridge. It was 3 telephone poles. So, we laughed at the park ranger. I was like, that did not float sideways. 3 telephones, something drug that, because they didn't like it. And they just laughed at us. And I asked him, I said, how many trees you guys have to clean up on every day? And he said that day.
17 that day on one trail.
Yeah, that one trail, they just constantly are like, we don't want you here. We don't want you here. We don't want you here. You'll find a tree. We found a tree upside down with it stuck in the ground and the root ball up in the air. And of course, the park rangers cut that down, because how else are you going to explain that to the public? The park rangers have to. Yeah,
they did.
Yeah, they constantly have to get rid of these things that show that there's something out here.
You imagine working for the government. You imagine having to be nonstop just pretend you're dumb as a stick for a living?
Yeah.
Ow.
I don't know how they do it.
Right. I don't either. Well, like I said, the guys that we've talked to have been pretty cool. They have smiled at us. They have not denied. They didn't say they just, since there is no government recognition of Bigfoots, they have to go, a bear, a big bear, a giant bear.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you got to go through your whole career being smart as a hammer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you guys have any idea why they're not informing the public?
They might be using it for a distraction, like false flags here to get people to look at ETs or something like that, look at Bigfoots. I think they're using it as a card. That's what I see. I mean, that's just my opinion. I think the government use everything as a card. If they can get a card on something to have an upper hand on something, I think that's what they'll do. That's my opinion.
Yeah, that's not a doubt there for sure. What about that Janice Carter?
Well,
so how did you meet her?
She's not far from us, and this guy named Dave. It's when we started, learning about Bigfoot, we met him, and he's one of the neighbors, and he was friends of her. And, she's got a book out there, like 50 Years of Bigfoot. There's these Bigfoot circuits, and she was running the circuit, I'll call them circuits because, it changes, every year now. In the 5 years, you got these people now, and then, but she was running way back in the original, girls. But her grandfather, had bought that property down there, or actually he was in like a witness protection program, which makes it go deeper. She's told us some stuff. I'm like, I don't know what all that was about.
Mm-hmm.
But she had Blackie and a few other Bigfoots. And like for example, in her case now, I'll tell you this one, there was a Blackie was a Bigfoot, and he raped a girl, and they covered it. The town covered it. Everyone covered that up. Now that girl that supposedly she did have the child, but every bit of that was completely covered up.
Mm-hmm.
Now Blackie eventually, see what they do in the Bigfoot world. Yeah.
That's what she told us.
Yeah, they completely, what do you call it, where they put hush orders on people and they can't talk. But it was all completely, they investigated. They tried to blame some kids, for it. And they, government tried to do anything to get it away from being that way. That happened to be a Bigfoot.
Did you hear
what she explained to us?
Did you hear anything about what happened to the baby?
No, that's what I'm saying. Of course, the girl went to a mental institution. And of course, from there, how the government works. I mean, they don't like you. If you don't fit in our society, you're going to be in a mental institution. So I think they pretty much took care of all that. And then as far as where the child went, I heard it was kind of like, I don't want to say retarded or something, but it was the mix between the human and that didn't work out well.
So, and about that Janice Carter, I'm familiar with that story. I don't have the book. I haven't read it all. I've heard her name a bunch of times. I never give anybody any special attention anywhere. You know what I mean? It's like I take note of stuff, and then it comes up, and I look into it, but I don't actually seek it out. But anyways, so how did her story end? And did you guys, what's she like? Does she seem legitimate and everything and total?
Yeah,
good between the ears?
She's 100%. She's solid, man. She works like a Dollar General, dude. She ain't got no money. I mean, the people that are real, the ones that are broke, the world rolled on them. Everyone threw them down, so she's legit, man. She's, she lives, she's moved a little, I think, north towards Kentucky area, but, just a hardworking, good person, solid person. And, she got too old for the circuit. You know how the circuit is. You got to have everything right. And she probably got too old and they kicked her out of it. So therefore, that was probably used to be some of her income. But I mean, she works at like a Dollar General, man. She's always just tried to keep her cars going and tried to keep rent paid, and just as normal person you ever meet. And she ain't making money. She didn't make no money off that book. That book wasn't hers. That was maybe someone else sold it and made it and all that kind of stuff.
If I remember right, she even said that she never made $1 from a Bigfoot.
No, never made $1. She won't. She won't take $1.
She won't.
Somebody stole her book? Somebody stole
her
story and made a book about it?
And and had money for that.
Well, she had made a deal with a lady named Mary Green, I think it was. I don't know exact details of it back then, but I guess Mary Green wrote the book. And of course, I guess now Mary Green's dead. The book's out of publish and all that kind of stuff. But,
she took the money or something like that. It was just how they wrote the deal.
Yeah.
But Janice didn't got the dollar out of that, or she made the deal.
No, she ain't got
she
no
didn't
money.
get the money out of it.
Right. Are you guys familiar with how her story ended? Like, how did all that end? What was the end? The ending?
Well, they had tried to go over and get pictures of Blackie.
Go ahead and tell what you remember. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say they basically tried to get pictures of Blackie. Blackie like lived in the basement, but
No, that was Fox.
that was Fox. I'm sorry,
Fox.
Fox was the one that lived in the basement. Hey, here's what happened. I'll tell you this. I'm gonna crush up the story into a small piece. What happened was her grandpa was either was cutting a tree down, and he either hit the little baby or the baby was in a tree. Don't really know, but his name was Fox, and it was a little hairy child. His name was Fox. And so they took Fox around and said, anybody's child back in the 30s and 40s, whose child is this? And no one claimed the child. And anyway, so he had made a little place in the back of his barn for this Fox, this little hairy boy that they had. And one night, something tore the back of the damn barn off to get that child out. Anyway, that child disappeared. Of course, it more likely his mom and dad or whoever came and got him. But Fox would come back and visit him. And so, he would feed Fox and was friends with Fox, and Fox would come back and forth. He gave him a shirt, and Fox wore it for years. This big old shirt that wore out.
You can only see strings or something like that left from the thread of being ripped so many times. That's what Janice says. She says she still sees them and such like that. Blackie, I don't think she knows what happened to Blackie, but I think she still sees Fox, or he's Fox getting a little old now. But him and her today. And Ninja Dave, yes, still today. Supposedly, I think it was like last year that I know of, or the year prior. Her and Dave went out every other weekend or something like that, and still go out there in the woods and check out and see how the Bigfoots are doing out there. Go to these certain areas that they know that they're at, and they get in encounters every time they go out there. And every time I hear from Dave or Janice, they had an encounter every time they go out in them woods.
Yeah, Grandpa.
And that's
Grandpa,
near you.
That's
near where you guys live.
Yeah. Yeah, that's down there. That's near Coker Creek. We're like, we're East Tennessee, but we're about middle of the state. And if you go just south of us, that's where you get into where her property is. Is also where we go panning for gold, and that's where we have our we call them booger experiences, because it's totally different experiences compared to what we've noticed is the Bigfoots, the big ones.
And she said,
we should call them boogers or Littlefoots.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, did they ever give you guys the invite to come out and meet them?
Who's that?
Janice?
Oh. No, she'd come by here. But like I said, they don't have that farm no more. They sold that farm years ago.
Really? I wonder how the new owners are making out.
Yeah.
That's a freaking incredible story.
You know as well as we do. Yeah, you know as well as we do. All over Alabama, Georgia, everyone's having experiences. It's just flowing through it's just gone through the roof.
It's so ridiculous to me. Like, I go down all the time. I've been going down and seeing my friends in the South for, I don't know how many years, 15 years. And every single time, it doesn't matter if there's a group of 3 people in the camp or 10 people, somebody's had something happen.
Right. Yeah.
And
like I said, it don't take much.
Yeah. Like just last spring, at my buddy's camp, we're near, we're all about 2 hours north of Mobile. I think about 2.5 hours north of Mobile, Alabama. Anyway, well, yeah, like what are we? A couple hours south of Tuscaloosa, I guess. Anyway, and 2 great guys. Like my one buddy's got a hunting camp, but he also has a bunch of rooms in there that he rents out to different trades guys because it's kind of rural. When they got like one guy's a linesman, another guy works logging, they'll come and rent his place off him when they work. Real good guys. And I've known these guys for about 3 years now, I guess. And all of a sudden, we're just bullshitting because I don't bring this topic up. I just don't. And all of a sudden, they both started telling me about shit that happened to them. One happened to my one friend. He had that thing in Louisiana in the swamp, paralleling him he's got his waders on, in the cypress trees and that muck. This thing's paralleling him in Louisiana. There's one guy in the same room as me, and then the other fella, real good guy, and he had something happen to him in Alabama. Same thing. Scared the living shit out of him. I forget the exact details. We're having beers too, but the more thing that stood out was just how common it is, right? I mean, what are the chances? Me and two guys I've been talking to forever sit at the same coffee table, and sure enough, all three of us have witnessed something going down. That is all over the South. Like you said, it's all over everywhere. It's everywhere.
Yep. And that's, like I said, it's only been the last few years that now we're kind of like cool. Cause I mean, we started coming out, 5 years ago and started telling stories, but now we just get to kick back, watch you and watch all these guys put out the stories after the stories. Cause I mean, we felt it was important to document this information. We always thought this is important. People need to know this because we didn't know in Tennessee had it. And so it's really nice for us because, like I said, we can sit back now. I think there's 773 Bigfoot channels now. So I'm like, cool. I could just sit back and watch all these people now report it, right? It's really cool because, we were kind of under a little gun to, share because you feel like people need to, this is something that people should learn or know about,
Yeah. Well,
and so it's been nice to have all these people.
Yeah, I think like in the beginning, my main motivation, I always refer to it. I'm like, here's my grandfather climbing in a sheet metal tube full of bombs, offering up his neck, and he's going to die scared of the same people he climbed in that tube for because of what he saw, didn't ask for. I'm like, bullshit, not anymore. No effing way, and then I finally realized, I'm like, I wonder how many other people out there are scared to admit what they saw and didn't ask for. I'm like, hey, email me. Now, what are we at? 40,000 emails from around the frickin' planet, and they come in every single day.
Right.
And I'm not affiliated.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm not affiliated in any way with any Bigfoot group, any other channels, nobody. Absolutely. I'm not affiliated with nothing, and I don't promote nothing. You know what I mean? Maybe I should. Well, if I did, I guess, I don't know, then it'd be about trying to get people to blow up the channel, which I don't give a flying shit. I just want the people that are scared shitless, don't know what to do. It really makes me angry, frustrated, because, you guys love the real world out there just as much as I do. And when you have other people who love it just as much as we do, and all of a sudden it gets stripped from them, gone forever. Oh, that's not fair. That's bullshit. That really, really frustrates me. So, yeah, I think
Right.
this has helped. I think this has helped a lot of people. This channel here, man. Like I've never had anybody email me and say, "Oh man, I wish I didn't share my story with you." I don't know how many times people have emailed or commented and said, "Oh, I'm so relieved I shared it."
Right.
Well, that was us. We wrote, like I said, we wrote you 10 years ago, and you read our story about 10 years ago. And, that was the beginning, us talking and then you reading the story out and we're like, oh, it's off our chest, man. Because, it was heavy. It's
like a boulder.
Yeah, it's like a boulder, man. Yeah. You're just right. And so that was the beginning of us breathing better. And then, of course, like you said,
I don't think a lot of people don't realize that I would say probably 99.5% of every witness relives that moment probably every single day in some form or another, every single day. Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, have you ever gone one day of absolutely forgetting all of that shit for a day? Not even thought about it for a second?
It's like it's a reoccurrence thing that's always there. It's like one little sound still brings you into the tent. You're still there. There was once after that Kentucky trip, I couldn't even go outside to have a little smoke time for myself, with our homegrown smokes that we have, tobacco, sage, stinging nettle, and such that we combine. I couldn't even smoke outside. I couldn't even enjoy my rest outside. I had to go back inside, and it's still the same practically today. Whenever I hear a certain type of sound, I go back to the tent, but I'm like reassured for what the things has occurred over time. Like with what I know now, it's not a threat, and more people
even
knows
just
about
driving
it.
down the road. I can't even drive down the road. Just driving. You look over at a mountain, you look at a patch of timber, and you're not wondering if there's any big bucks in there. You used to just wonder if there's a big buck in there, a turkey or whatever. Now it's like, oh yeah, that looks like it could be suspect. As you're driving along, going to do something absolutely unrelated, but you can't escape it. It's like having a tattoo on your forehead every time you get up in the morning and brush your teeth. Boom, in your face. And another, I mean, I'm not saying it hasn't taken away any quality of life. Borderline, I think borderline a couple times I could have shut her down. It's like, that's it. I'm not going in the woods anymore. There's been a few times where I'm like, I got to concentrate on keeping my shit. Like, just put it aside and go. Just go. You're going to be fine. Just go. But that sucks too. Having to talk yourself into being calm and talk yourself into going hunting tomorrow in the dark, 2 hours before I get sun anyways. You know, it kind of sucks in a way that is a regular part of your day now, when you got to talk yourself into going where you want to go. Talk yourself into it. You know, it's kind of like, well, that's kind of sucks ass.
Motivating yourself into doing something you like to do. It's like, why do I have to motivate myself to do what I enjoy doing? It's like,
yeah, it's a sentence, right? And then you got these other absolute dumbasses. Well, I shouldn't say they're dumbasses. They're just overly programmed, where people actually think that you're a Bigfoot. Yeah, you're the Bigfoot guy. Oh, you're right into Sasquatch, aren't you? No, I'm not into anything. I'm into living my life, but I'm kind of not into having this life sentence between my ears every single day, which you would have too if you saw the shit that I saw. But they can't pick it up, right? So many people can't pick that up, that part of it up. They don't have a clue. And that's another reason why I don't say, hey, make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Share my channel. Share it to who? You can't, I don't give a shit who you are. You can't promote this topic. You can't promote it. If somebody hasn't had first-time experience, you're going to hold their attention for about 3 seconds. You know what I mean? Like, you can't. Unless you want to make a buck. If you're trying to make $1, then of course you're going to try promoting, because you need that attention. I don't give a flying shit. If I lost all the subscribers tomorrow, I don't give a shit. I don't give a flying shit. I'm not here for that, because I know, you know as well as I do, when you know what's up, you start looking for information on your own. Nobody's making you. You can't make somebody go, hey, I know you're heavily into baseball and football every Sunday, but how'd you like to throw Bigfoot in the mix? You want to look into Bigfoot? Said nobody. You know what I mean? And nobody said yes to that. But I'm probably babbling. I've had 2 coffees and no breakfast yet, so I'm probably getting a little babbly. But anyway, yeah. What do you guys think? I mean, you can't convince a person who hasn't experienced this shit to be an avid hardcore into it, or try to find answers for it. On average, don't you think?
Yeah, that's the thing is, you know, we're woodsmen. You know, I've always been in the woods, and like I said, I think it's those kind of people that are going to have experiences because they love the woods. They're out there, you know, hiking, camping, and like I said, the majority of people, a lot of people are not in the woods, and I don't think they're going to have the experiences, and they'll definitely sit around and poke and prod the rest of us. But we're like you, we don't go out. I mean, when I go to bed, I'll take a recorder with me, but we're not into trying to prove anything. We just set up paperwork and see if they, you know, see what they do. We just want to learn that, you know, what's going on. We're trying to figure out how this works. That's about it for us. You know, we're like you. We're not into, we don't make any money off of, you know, experiencing things. So,
yeah. What we experience is what we share.
Yeah. I think one thing for me, it's like, I mean, I know I don't have to go. You don't have to. You guys know it too. You don't have to go miles away to try to find. You don't. They're there. They're either there, wherever they are. Wherever they are, I don't believe we can physically go there. Possibly. I can't put it into words smoothly, but once they know, you know, the gig's up between us. The gig's up. You know what I mean? And after hearing about what goes on in a lot of people's homes and in their lives and their daily lives, and watching that interview with that, what's his name? Mike or Mark Barton or whatever, that guy that lost his complete marbles when he got pinned in that chair and told that he was prey and all sorts of crazy shit. I don't need to invite that to my home. I've got enough. I got stuff going on in my home as it is. I got eagle feathers showing up in my barn like they're shedding, and it's not eagles, right? I got Sarah having her stairs. They're really working on Sarah every once in a while, right around my home, and I don't give it too much attention because I don't need it to escalate. You know what I mean? I don't want my home up for sale and everything ruined. I don't know. It's just a fine line, but I think for me, I got to pull the trigger eventually. Meaning, all right, I'm going to pull the trigger. Meaning, all right, I'll go in the woods by myself without a gun or a knife or any camera or anything. Let's just get it on. Let's just get it on. Tell me what you want to
Yeah.
tell me. Show me what you want to show me, and I'll do however I react. But I know I'm probably going to do that eventually. I'm just not into it quite just yet. You know?
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. You know, one day I'm gonna go out and roll smoke with a Bigfoot and sit in the woods. But like you said, I ain't there yet. I don't know when that's going to be, but I got to get there before I die, I think. And so do you, right? We got to get there before we leave this place.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. So would you guys do that? Okay. Tomorrow, all by yourself, are you going to go deep in the middle of nowhere, all by yourself with just a couple cans of food and a sleeping bag and lay there and say, okay, here I am? Would you do it? Are you ready? Would you do that right now?
Yeah, I would.
I would like to.
I just don't know if I want to.
The experience part would be entertaining. Now, if it's tomorrow, I don't know about that. I got work to do.
Entertaining. I know, it's like I think about that, it creeps me out. But then again, I mean, here I am. I'm already planning. I'm getting dropped off in a bush plane in the middle of the northern British Columbia to go lay on the ground and sleep and hunt mountain sheep, which doesn't even cross my mind not to. I don't hesitate for 10 seconds. But it's isn't that funny? It's got to have something to do with your mind. I firmly believe that whatever you keep between your ears in this lifetime comes to fruit. You know what I mean? And if I concentrate, I'm just going to I'm going to go hike around the Rockies, climb up those mountains, sleep on the ground, and hunt a ram, and I'm going to get back. And that's what's in between my ears. But if I said, I'm going to go to that same zone with the full intention of meeting a 10-foot tall, hairy dude in the middle of the night, then I would be like, no, I'm not going. Meanwhile, it's the same place, different mindset.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, we're in the same boat you are, man. We're in that, I think that's something that, you know, definitely, I know Matt too would like to have that full experience when you actually can. But I believe that, you know, a lot of people, I believe that you have a fear meter and you got to keep working on that and get it stronger and stronger and stronger so you can, you know, make that. Because, I mean, that is our problem. We, you know, fear, you know, I don't, you know, like I want to run and hit a tree, you know, I want to, you know, so the more we do get out and the more experiences we do have, and it is kind of a slow process because we're growing and learning something that's been hidden from us forever and ever, that hopefully we'll have enough, you know, to be able to withstand. I had a dream the other night that there was a Bigfoot. I saw a Bigfoot. That's about to be part of me getting ready, but I saw him and he was, you know, walking from left to right or something, but I see the complete guy, you know, and I'm looking at him and I woke up next morning. Maybe it gives me a little bit more. I think I could do this. I don't think I'm going to take off and hit a tree. You know, I think I could do this. So I think it's mental preparedness, you know, also to absorb, you know, something that has been beyond our minds for all my life. So,
yeah. Isn't that something else though? Like you just said, the fear thing, it's just something else. The fear that accompanies this topic, these experiences. I mean, think about it. And I'm not slinging my dick. It's just fact. I've gone after wounded grizzly bears on my hands and knees in bushes. No big deal. I mean, obviously it's an adrenaline pucker factor, but I'm not terrified. I'm not overly scared. I'm going to do it. I'm going in. You know what I mean? Like if I can do that, I can go hunting by myself. You guys see my videos. I go in the middle of butt fuck nowhere. Oops, sorry, whatever, all by myself all the time. No problem. But where does that fear come from when it comes to dealing with these beings or possibly going with full intent to go face one in the woods? Why is that fear so intense? And it's with everybody. I don't give a shit who you are. It's with everybody.
From what I was saying, because I was actually thinking about that last night. It's like, what is going on with this concept? You know, it's like the fear is like the barrier of our minds. You know, when we get close to our barrier of our mind of what we pronounce as reality, and then reality comes at you with truth that it's not what you're seeing, and what you're seeing is what is real. So now you're having to go past your barrier, and that's the fear of the breaking point of the amount of other things that could come about of knowing this, because now you know something that's a creature. What type of thing is going to come after you now? Because it's like knowing a lion. It's like knowing an elephant for the first time. Like, what do you do? Run? Probably. Knowing that they could chase you too. You got to learn how to work with that big energy now. It's like you have to relax now. Like, whoa, you're working with something.
Well, one example is like our chickens. I don't pick them up because I'm like, I don't want to be picked up. it's just a psychological thing. It's the size things, you know, because I mean, our chickens are really friendly, but I might pet them when they walk by, but I don't pick them up because I'm like, how would you like to be picked up? And so it's the size thing, you know. I don't want a Bigfoot to pick me up. That's the end of it there. I'm just going to lose it. And if you pick up a chicken, they'll lose it because even chickens are like, dude, you're a huge giant to me. And I don't want to be, I want to run from you. And so I kind of see it that way. I don't, you know, that's one thing I don't want a Bigfoot to do is pick me up. I'm like, no, don't pick me up.
Or pet me.
Or try to mate with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No.
Yeah, no shit. I don't know. I guess the biggest gamble is just losing quality of life from that experience. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to start drooling down your front, licking windows and riding the short bus afterwards for the rest of your existence, you know?
Yeah. That was a big plow for us. Like I said, I was into caving. We used to do orb research back in the day. We did all these things and hunting. I was a big fisherman for years. Now I'm not a big hunter, but big fisherman for years. And the outdoors life it's actually helped us because now we do go locations like the Pan for Gold, and we're like, oh, cool, we go panning for gold and Bigfooting now. And so a lot of times we do go and get to sit out by the campfire and maybe listen to knocks, or we've heard them talk from one range to another. So we have, you know, we do get to experience them now, and it's a little bit more, you know, my age. You know, I was in the caving, and then that kind of, okay, I'm gonna do something else. But now, so it is a new adventure, and it's definitely a new something, adds excitement to being in the woods in the good way, you know. So it's working good for us.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Huh? Well, it's definitely been. I guess we got to wrap this up. It's definitely been interesting talking to you guys. I'm glad we did this. Glad I met you.
Yeah, well, thanks I'm glad Sarah got to. I was like, what? Sarah wrote me an email, says, hey, they're doing interviews. I'm like, geez, we'd love to talk to you. And thanks for having us. And, you know, we shared a little bit, and it's cool. And we enjoy it. We're like you, man. We love giving people hope that have had the holy hell scared out of them, that there is light at the end of the tunnel. You will make it. Just, you know, get stronger in your way, get stronger in your faith, get stronger in who you are. You know, we're all going to get through this.
It feels like the reality is a little stronger with me. So it's like going in the woods is a whole lot less fear now than when I didn't know to what I know now. I'm like, oh, it's not extreme no more. You know, at least I'm able to cope with what's going on.
I believe there were friends out there now because they brought back my gold pan. You know, and then they brought back your knife. They bring in your feather. So we're starting to realize there is some good people out there in the woods. If you want to call them people, there are good hairy men out in the woods. So, you know, cool.
Whatever we'll they are. That. Yeah. Well, did you guys? Another quick story. You guys heard about my arrow story too, then, right?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember, but I remember it was you had an arrow. They returned or something. What was the story? Can you tell me quickly? Or
well, springtime up, and I built that huge stand in the woods, which they tore down, and it was where they were knocking on the trees above me. And I had a big stand about 12 feet, 14 feet off the ground. We sit in that by the swamp watching the black bears and grizzly bears going by there. I mean, we're talking thick ass swamp. 10 foot of the butt cedar trees. And on the way home, we'd have a few beers. Friday, we went spring bear hunting and going to Logging Road. And there's a bear on the side of the road. And I go, watch this. Got out of the truck and I unscrewed the tip off my bow to shoot it in the butt, to treat it, to get away from the road. And being clowns. But I forgot the bow that I had was the latest model I had given to me from a guy named Rocky Drake at PSC. I'd guided him on a TV show for moose, and they gave me the bow. And they're way more powerful, and it drove the arrow into the bear's butt cheek with the tip off of it. I'm like, you know, you're like the kid that just smashed the neighbor's window with the baseball. Oh, shit, right? And then farther down the road, about 2 miles and 3/4 away up the mountain on deactivated Logging Road, I was up there. So that was probably May, June, July, August, September. So that's like 6-7 months later, I'm going up that deactivated Logging Road on my snowmobile with all my wolf trapping gear. And I'm on top of about probably at least 4 feet to 6 feet of snow. And here's that arrow on the side of that road ahead of me, sticking in the snow about 3 inches straight up and down.
Right. And you know, they were like, hey, buddy, we know you. and here's your arrow back. That's so cool.
We know what you did that day, or whatever, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
We know what that bear did. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember you.
Not
That's
one
cool.
footprint in the snow, and that arrow sticking straight up and down out of the snow, only about 3 inches in the snow.
That's exciting because, like you said, there's something out there that's very
Some weird
conscious of
shit
what we're
going on.
doing and very aware of what we're doing, and it even does things in relationship to what we do. And so, cool. We'll take it.
Wouldn't that be
We'll
crazy?
take that as a good side of it.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be crazy to see the world through their eyes from wherever they're from and whatever they can do? Wouldn't that be absolutely freaking bizarre to see what they see, how they look at us, how they pull that off? You know what I mean? Like being behind the eyeballs, pulling that shit off. That'd be the craziest movie ever made. If you could, you know what I mean? To see that.
Right.
Yeah. I kind of go down the theories of, I think it's Genesis 25:25. He would come out red and hairy, and one was strong and he's a woodsman, and the other one kind of stayed intense and stuff. And I'm thinking that maybe God made like one man soft and one man hard, and we were supposed to get together and it didn't work out. And so maybe one has gone to the woods, and we have been like brainwashed and messed with, and DNA and everything else. And so we've kind of fell behind, and, I'm kind of wondering if any of that's got any, anything to it, but, it's definitely, something I'm thinking there may be something there. I don't understand why he was so furry. I mean, they said he had a garment of hair, and I'm like, what? That sounds like a Bigfoot to me. Are we kin to Bigfoots? Is that relatives in the woods? And we're the guys.
Right,
I live in a house in a tent. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's get out of here. I got to go attend Sarah's birthday today. So here I am on
Cool,
in
man.
my
Stay
private room. Yeah. And then
thank you very
make sure
much
you
for
email me back.
talking with us.
Email me back anytime if you got anything new coming up, or any new knowledge you think, man, holy shit, Steve's got to hear this shit, or everybody here's got to hear this. Get a hold of me for sure.
Okay. We'll do that.
Sounds cool.
Okay,
Yeah,
boys.
Well, thank you,
I'm outta
Steve.
here.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you and share.
Thank you guys.
Awesome.
Good
Thank
luck
you.
out there.
Thank
Be
you.
safe. And I'll talk to you. We'll probably talk
All right.
again
Same to
sometime.
you, sir. Thank you very much, Steve, for all you
Okay,
do.
man.
Thank you, sir.
Later.
Later.
The Evo, what is it called? Is it the Evo? The little Range Rover, the mini Range Rover.